All right, let's get started. Okay, so as I mentioned, we will be going over the college application process tonight. But first, I just quickly want to go over our services in the College and Career Center. Um, so basically, we do anything related to helping students plan for life after high school, which includes individualized advising with students and parents or families, researching college options, help with all of the college application process, registering for SAT, ACT. We have fee waivers for that, by the way. If you need one, come see us in the CCC, as well as for college applications, um, along with a whole bunch of other things, a ton of events throughout the year to make sure your students are well equipped to apply to college. This will be kind of a longer presentation, so if anybody needs to jump off, it will be recorded and um, posted, so y'all can refer back to it at any point. Um, but quickly, I just wanted to mention that we are here to help students with whatever path they choose after high school. So whether that's four-year college, two-year college, military, workforce, you name it, we just want to make sure all students have an informed plan for life after high school. But this presentation will be focused primarily on four-year college or university. So the best place to start is with building a balanced college list. Um, so how do you build a balanced college list? We recommend having at least two likely, two target, and two reach schools um, on your list. And so a likely school is a school that you're pretty much overqualified for. It's not a guarantee, but almost a guarantee you're going to get accepted. A target school is a school where your academic credentials fall within the admitted student profile of that college or university. And then a reach school is a school where your academic credentials fall below admission, yeah, the admitted student profile. So in order to find admitted student profiles, you essentially can just Google like UGA admitted student profile. Some schools have it really nicely packaged and easy. They give you their middle 50 percentile range of GPA and test scores. Other colleges make that a little harder to find. So I'll show you in just a second how you can use common data sets to find the range, test score and GPA ranges, admissions ranges for different schools. Um, so the two most important things to consider when building your college list are match and fit. So match refers to a student's academic alignment to a college or university, and fit refers to a student's essentially personal preferences for college. Um, so things considered in match are the selectivity of the institution you're applying to, as well as GPA, test scores, and course rigor. And then things considered in fit would be things like the type of college, location, cost, etc. All things that um, are arguably just as important as match. Yeah. So common data sets, I'm just going to show you quickly. So you can Google a college name and common data set for pretty much any school and click the first link. Sometimes it'll have you choose a year, just choose the most recent one. Um, and then it should always look at least somewhat like this. It's just a big document, and you'll scroll down to section C, which is first time, first year admissions right here. And you can look at it in your own time. There's a bunch of good information in here, but I find the more helpful parts to be, first part is this chart that shows you essentially what a college values in an applicant. This can be especially helpful if you're like a spreadsheet person and you want to kind of get an idea of what to spend the most time on for each school. Typically, this last one will refer to demonstrated interest, which we'll go over in just a minute. But yeah, so this is a helpful chart in figuring out what a school values. And by the way, this is UGA's data, admissions data. But you can look it up for any school. And so if you keep scrolling, down here, it gives you the middle 50 percentile of test scores that were admitted to UGA. So keep in mind that 25% scored below this and 25% scored above. Same with ACT. But this is a great way to figure out whether a school is in your likely target or reach range. Obviously, GPA is just as big of a factor, so you have to consider them both. But if you fall within this middle 50 percentile or above it, it's either a target or a likely school for you. And if you're below it, it would be a reach school for you. And then if you keep scrolling, there's more test score data, and then it gives you GPA data. Um, and for a school like UGA, we can assume that most of these students probably went to a high school that didn't offer many rigorous courses, so they didn't have the opportunity to take too many IB, AP, or dual enrollment. And assume most of these are probably athletes because majority of students who get into UGA, at least from North Atlanta, have around a 4.0 or higher. So this chart right here is probably the biggest indicator of whether a school is in your likely target or reach range. So I just wanted to show you guys that quickly because it's probably the best way to kind of get that information, accurate information. So, and when it comes to looking for colleges, how can you go about that? So there's a lot of different ways. First, I'm going to explain demonstrated interest because it goes into some of this. But demonstrated interest is essentially where colleges can track how often and how meaningfully a student engages with them. Not all colleges track this. Honestly, most don't. It's typically private, higher more highly selective colleges that would track this. But if they do, it's an easy way to get brownie points in the admissions process. But it's also an easy way to hurt yourself in the admissions process if you don't engage with them. So this can include anything from talking to them at the college fair, going on a virtual tour, going on an in-person tour, going to rep visits, emailing them. Some colleges I've heard can even track how quickly you open their emails or how whether you visited their website and things like that. I don't know, but yeah, it's definitely an easy way to just show a college that you're super interested, and if they are tracking that, yeah. So ways to research and explore college options, in-person and virtual college tours. This is definitely the best way to figure out whether a school is really a good fit for you. Um, Using college search engines like Big Futures or other match and fit tools where you can plug in your GPA and test scores, and that'll generate a list of colleges in your range, which you can then apply filters for based on your preferences. So for like size of the school, location, programs offered, stuff like that, that will help narrow down the list even more. That's definitely recommend those tools as like the best way to find out about new schools. Taking advantage of college fairs. So our college fair will be on August 22nd, I believe, next year. Definitely take advantage of that. There are also other outside college fairs that you can attend if you're eager to get more one-on-one time with reps. And attending rep visits, like I mentioned, that's where representatives from colleges come directly to us. We typically have them every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, twice a day. So you have ample opportunity to hear from lots of different colleges right here in our own school. And so you can also search by things like major or schools that offer the most aid. Just utilize Google and all its potential. But definitely you can search for like best programs for finance or biology or whatever, and view the US News or the niche ranked lists are very helpful. And then also just using social media or talking to other people is a great way to find out authentic experiences and like reviews of colleges that you're not going to find on their website per se. Uh, and also it's important to keep in mind acceptance rates when you're looking for colleges, because the lower the acceptance rate, the more competitive it's going to be, even if you're within range for a school. There's not unlimited amount of space at the school, so it's still not a guarantee that you'll get accepted. So now on to the components of the college application. So it's pretty much the application form, essays, letter of recommendation, and sending transcripts and test scores. So I'm going to quickly show you guys a quick in a second. Oops. Um, little walkthrough of Common App because it's easier than explaining it. Common App is essentially a portal used to apply to a bunch of different colleges using one application portal. And over 1,000 colleges are on Common App. There will be some colleges that aren't on Common App. You will either apply through that college's website, or if it's a college in Georgia, through Georgia Futures. But Common App is typically the most common application that students use. So I recommend that students set up their account this summer. It's a great idea to get acclimated to Common App before your senior year. But essentially, the main two tabs you're going to use are the Common App and the My Colleges. In order to add colleges, when you set up your account, you just type in here and then you can click add and it'll show up in your My Colleges. But first, I'm going to go over the Common App tab. So these will go to all of the schools that you apply to on Common App. So you only have to complete these sections once. The writing is like the Common App essay / personal statement. Activities is kind of your broken down resume. So these are very important sections. Do not rush through them. But yeah, so anything that you fill in these sections will remain in here, will not get deleted when Common App rolls over on August 1st. And then the My Colleges tab, when you click on a college that you've added, it will give you information about their deadlines and application requirements. So like, do they require test scores? How many recommendations? Do they require the essay, etc.? Then when you click questions over here, this is the college's individual application. So colleges are able to update their application each year. So anything that you enter on under the My Colleges tab will be deleted on August 1st. So I don't recommend filling anything in. There's not any point. But you can go ahead and look through a college's application and get an idea of what they might be asking you. But just keep in mind it's subject to change on August 1st. So anything under the My Colleges tab will stay in there. Anything under the anything under the Common App tab will stay in there. Anything under the My Colleges will be deleted. However, I think the list of colleges stays. But yeah, that's a quick rundown of Common App. And yeah, let me see if there's anything else. Yeah. Okay. So the first section is the application form, personal info, education, activities. Again, the activities is a very important section. Do not overlook it. Here are some tips for how to complete it. Biggest one is focus on quality over quantity. If you can't fill up all 10 slots with activities, that's perfectly fine. They would much rather see that you're super committed to 3 or so activities than a bunch of meaningless ones. So yeah, so then we have the essay. I'm not going to spend any time going over this since we had our Zoom on it last week, but that's linked here. If you did not catch that, I highly recommend watching the recording. It's extremely helpful, and I can just guarantee this is probably not like an essay you've probably really ever had to write before. So it's a good idea to kind of figure out what the parameters are. Letters of recommendation. So this is probably what I'm getting the most questions about this time of year. So colleges will allow / requires different amounts of recommendations. Some allow a few, some require them, and some won't even review them even if you submit them. So like I showed you just a second ago, you can see on Common App what their recommendation policy is. But yeah, colleges can allow, typically 3 would be like the highest amount. So I would recommend students get up to 3 recommenders. Recommenders are always going to help you. They're never going to hurt you unless your teacher has a vendetta against you, but they are always going to help you. So who do you ask? Typically someone who knows you well and really likes you. Someone that sees your potential, someone that you have a good relationship with is always going to go the longest, or the farthest. And someone who taught you recently. So we highly recommend having a core teacher from junior or senior year as at least one of your recommenders, just because they can speak the best to how you do academically at this point in time. Having someone from freshman year, while they can be a great recommender, it's not going to say as much about who you are today. However, once you get that one core teacher, past that, it's kind of up to you who you get. You can get bosses, mentors, coaches, etc. Just be mindful of whether you think they provide a valuable rec to your application. Um, how do you ask? We recommend asking in person, always ask in advance. We recommend at least 3 weeks notice. A lot of students are starting to ask now, especially if you plan to ask any high demand teachers. I'm sure you can probably figure out on your own who that might be, like Dr. Hasty, Mr. McPhail, etc. You probably want to get in there soon, because they will fill up, but it's also perfectly fine to keep asking through the fall semester, but just make sure you're giving your teachers enough notice. When you ask them, say thank you, I'll send you my brag sheet and I'll invite you on Common App. So you won't be able to do this until August 1st, but you will be able to just plug in their email and they will get a link to submit the recommendation directly to your Common App. They write one recommendation letter and it goes to all of the schools that you assign them to. So you can pick and choose. Say one school allows 3 recommenders, but another allows only 1. You can pick which recommender you would like to assign to that one school. Yeah, I think I got everything. And then, yeah, so we'll go over the brag sheet. Yeah. So brag sheet is what you will submit to your recommenders to help them write a glowing rec. It does not go to colleges. It's simply goes directly to your teacher. Yeah, so, but it's still a very important part of your application. This is just uh, helpful tips to kind of help you inform how you fill out your brag sheet, but which you can refer back to. But yeah, the quality of your brag sheet determines the quality of your rec. Detailed responses give recommenders more to work with. You can also be very like pointed in your rec and say, I already highlighted this, uh, highlighted this area or whatever. I'd prefer you highlight this accomplishment or whatever, just so you have a more dynamic application and you're not being redundant, because redundancy really doesn't add any value at all to your application. And Mr. Ginwright, did you want to chime in about the
Yeah,
brag sheet?
yes. Can I share my screen? Yeah. I will have to stop sharing yours for a moment. Is that okay?
Uh-huh. There we
Okay. All right. Good evening, everyone. Give me 1 second to pull up the brag sheet. That's a question. Okay. Are you able to see my screen? Okay, great. All right. Again, good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining the session this evening. I want to review the brag sheet that will go out to students this week now that it's done. And I think Ms. Anderson will have it included in the presentation. But for recommendation letters, colleges prefer recommendation letters from teachers. However, there are some colleges that ask specifically for recommendations from counselors. So this brag sheet covers both for counselors and teachers. It's for the general population of the school. There's a section that it will ask. Just let me go through it instead of explaining it. So here, reporting guidelines to make note of. We require at least 10 school days notice to do the letter of recommendation. Less than 10 days, of course, we can still do it, but anything less than 5 is pushing it. And you may not get a student may not get a letter or a general letter. So just keep that in mind. There are a number of requests that come through. So we really want to make sure we stick to advanced notification. The letters are sent directly to the institution. We do not share them with students or parents. So we all need to know exactly where the letter has to be sent. This is for college applications and scholarships. So the recommendation, I'm sorry, the brag sheet does collect email addresses. It's just the student's personal email, and then they include their basic information, and then the counselor, the graduating class. So I'll just go ahead for next year. We have received an additional counselor, so we'll have 6 counselors. Means 12th grade will have 2 counselors, and ninth grade they currently have 2 counselors. So with 12th grade, we haven't determined the breakdown of the caseload yet, but Mr. Robinson will, he's the current senior counselor, and he will continue 12th grade counselor. I would just serve as 12th grade counselor next school year. And we think that it'll be a good setup because we will be able to share the caseload. Um, they ask for the due date of the letter, who the letter should be sent to, if known. That's not a required question here because I know sometimes you may not know, and how the letter should be submitted via email, Common App, etc. Here is where students get to just do a self-evaluation table. This is in part of the Common App portion for counselors, so this will be helpful just to get their input. Then part 2, let me see, did I skip a part? Okay, no, I didn't, sorry. Okay, yeah, I did. I have to go back and redo the brag sheet. Sorry about that. I just noticed that I omitted a part. It will ask the purpose of the letter. So when it asks the purpose of the letter, if it's college application, if the student is an underclassman and needed for an internship, it'll take them to a different portion of this brag sheet. But for tonight, for seniors, for the college and scholarship recommendations, it just simply asks the three adjectives to describe yourself and why. Here it tells you below is a list of attributes here that colleges consider when evaluating an application. And then we tell them select 1 or 2 and just share an example that they demonstrated this in class. Then talk about a personal growth moment, extracurricular activity, future goals. And then this part here gets into the teacher, more so for the teacher, where it says describe a lesson or unit in class that you enjoyed and why. I need to change that to the favorite class or favorite subject. What academic accomplishments, such as a project that they worked on in class that they're most proud of, and describe the effort and challenges involved. And then is there anything else you want your recommender to know? So we've shortened their brag sheet for seniors tremendously from previous brag sheets in past years. So hopefully this will not be too overwhelming for students to just go ahead and complete, hopefully over the summer or when we return at the start of the school year. And then this is just general recommendation requests for students who are not seniors. So they will skip the top part. And then here's just final reminders, and sign name and put the due date for the recommendation letter. And once that's submitted, students should receive a copy of this form. So this is the brag sheet in a nutshell. I think Ms. Anderson covered everything. Oh, one thing I do want to say about the brag sheets, if students don't provide enough information, then the quality of their letter will reflect that. When it comes to schools like UGA and Georgia Tech, UGA does not require a counselor letter of recommendation for early action, but Ms. Anderson, correct me if I'm wrong, a teacher recommendation is preferred. Are required. And then for Georgia Tech, they don't require a counselor recommendation. So we do not write letters of recommendation for students applying early action for those 2 schools. If a student is waitlisted, then the counselors, I typically go ahead and write a recommendation for the students who are waitlisted. So that's just FYI. I will stop sharing, Ms. Anderson, so you can continue.
Okay, and there's a question that is the purpose of the brag sheet just for counselor or recommendations or for teachers?
It's for counselors and teachers. That's why we have those questions dealing with like their favorite project. I need to go back and I'm glad I went over this tonight with you. I need to go back and uh, change a couple of questions, but yes, so it's for teachers and counselors to use, and I am going to send this out to teachers to let them know.
Great. And when will it be shared with students?
Well, the brag sheet will be shared on our website, on our school website, so it will be posted there.
Okay, and yeah, it's linked in this presentation, so oops. So once this presentation is shared, it will be there as well. So, sending transcripts and test scores. You guys will use Parchment to send transcripts in the fall. There's a link here that shows you how to create your account and request transcripts. It has to be sent directly through Parchment. That's the only way colleges will accept them. And then for test scores, you, how do I mute everyone? For test scores, they must be sent directly through College Board or ACT.org. Now, Common App does let you self-report them, but ultimately you're still going to have to send them directly through these portals for them to be official. But if you plan to apply test optional to any colleges so if you plan to apply without test scores, I would not self-report your test scores at all on Common App. I'm not sure if this is still the case, but in past years, the toggle to allow or not allow schools to see your test scores is glitchy, and certain schools said that they were still able to see test scores, and if they can see them, they're going to use them. So I just would not, there's no really reason to self-report them since you have to send them directly through the portals anyways. So just save yourself that trouble, and I wouldn't self-report on Common App. Testing terms to know, test optional is a school where it's optional to submit test scores. Test blind is a college that will not look at your test scores even if you submit them. The UC California colleges are test blind. And super score is where they take an average of your best scores from each subject from multiple test attempts. So most colleges, except super scores, you can Google which ones do and don't. There's very few that don't. And so in Georgia, we do have a very weird test optional policy. So UGA, Georgia Tech, and Georgia College are always going to require test scores. It's not up to them. The state of Georgia decides that. So they're required for those three schools. Now, for the rest of our public colleges, we have a tiered GPA threshold system. Basically, so the GPA threshold is based on a student's HOPE GPA, not their standard GPA on their transcript. So your HOPE GPA is calculated using only core classes, no electives. And you can check your HOPE GPA on Georgia Futures. But yeah, so if your HOPE GPA is higher than the threshold listed here for that college, then you can apply without test scores. If it's below that threshold, then you must submit test scores. So these are the GPA thresholds. And yeah, so testing is very important, unfortunately, in the state of Georgia. If you're looking out of state, there are a lot more test optional options. And private schools within Georgia are typically test optional. The college admissions national testing schedule. I think ACT did just announce the rest of their 25-26 school year dates. SAT has not yet, but these are the upcoming
Yeah, I
test
think
dates.
they just announced it.
Oh, okay, great. So
Yeah,
that must have
I
been
saw.
okay, yeah, that must have been like today or yesterday. So make sure you're registering, prepping. We have fee waivers if you can't afford the cost to register. Please come see us in the CCC. These are some free test prep options, and here are some paid ones. And so what's going to be super important is either getting a calendar planner. I recommend a spreadsheet. Whatever you prefer to help you get organized. Start writing down deadlines for college applications, scholarship deadlines, test registration deadlines and test dates, FAFSA priority deadlines, personal deadlines, etc. It will make your life feel a lot less chaotic during your senior year. Um, so now we're going to go over the college admissions cycles. So these are essentially the cycles in which you can apply to college and be admitted or or denied. Um, but so the first one is early decision. Early decision is typically between October, November. Um, and it is binding. So you can only apply early decision to one college. And if you get accepted to that college, you must attend. So you can apply early decision to one school, but then you can apply early action to as many other schools as you would like. Which early action is essentially the same timeline, but it's just applying early and finding out whether you got accepted early. You can do it to as many schools as you want. It's not binding. If you get accepted to those colleges, you are not bound to go. Um, Early decision is the only admission cycle that has a significant admissions advantage. Students are more likely to get accepted in the early decision cycle. However, it is a very big decision, and students are required to meet with their counselor if they decide to early decision to any colleges. But it is a big decision, and understand that you are signing a contract when you do early decision to a college. Um, like I said, early action is pretty much the same timeline, but just finding out whether you got it in early. Regular decision um, is usually around January 1st, and it is just the standard timeline of applying to college and hearing back. You usually hear back around April 1st. Um, yeah, so I forgot to mention in the early action and early decision rounds, you can be accepted, denied, or deferred. And if you are deferred, that just pushes your application into the regular decision cycle, means they just want to see a little more, learn a little more about you before making a decision. Rolling admissions is uh, yeah, so schools continue to accept students until they reach their enrollment capacity. There's no set deadline. So essentially you apply, and typically within a few weeks to a month, you will get your admissions decision. So schools like Ole Miss, Kennesaw, Georgia State, wait, no, sorry, that's wrong. Kennesaw and Georgia State aren't rolling admissions, but Ole Miss, Alabama, there's some other ones. Are going to be rolling admissions. A lot of students like to do those schools kind of early in the semester to kind of get the positive momentum going with some acceptances early in the semester, which I think is a great idea. If you're applying to Ivies and other highly selective schools, there are other admission cycles that are very confusing. So they're linked here if you would like to learn more about those. So deciding whether applying early is the right choice for you. And this especially goes for UGA and Georgia Tech. We've been tracking the trends for years, so we just want to make sure our students know what's going to be best for them and when they should apply. So early action is a good option for students who meet or exceed the admitted students' profile stats for the college they're applying to, meaning that their GPA, test scores, and course rigor fall within or above the middle 50 percentile for admitted freshmen at that college. Students who do not meet or exceed any of these three criteria are better suited to apply a regular decision. And why is that? So if you're applying at the beginning, if you're applying during first semester of your senior year, you will not have any final grades for your senior year, meaning you're applying with the GPA you end your junior year with. If you do not already meet their range for GPAs, it is in your best interest to use that semester to improve your GPA and apply with a stronger one during the regular decision admission cycle. Um, Similarly, if you need additional opportunities to get your test scores up, this gives you that opportunity. We essentially just say apply when your application is the strongest. So we have seen that for UGA and Georgia Tech, that students who apply early action with below average stats for their school, they will reject and not just defer them. So we recommend only applying early action if you meet or exceed that freshman profile, because it is a little more cutthroat for certain schools in the early action round. Not always, some schools can be more generous in the early action round, but for UGA and Georgia Tech, those are our trends. Um, okay, yeah. And this is just to show you quickly that how to utilize spreadsheets. So I would recommend using them to keep track of deadlines, application requirements, um, comparing colleges, so their stats, their costs, acceptance rates, stuff like that. Whatever you prefer to have in yours, you can personalize your own spreadsheets or you can find a template online. But on Common App, there is this option when you're on the dashboard to click this application requirements button, and it pulls out essentially a spreadsheet and can kind of give you a lot of that helpful information, the deadlines, the cost of the application, etc., that you can use to fill in. Um, okay, and to quickly go over scholarships because we get obviously a ton of questions about this. There's a lot to go over with scholarships, so I'm going to try and do it as quickly as possible. But yeah, so the main kinds are institutional, state, national, and local. Institutional is the aid you'd be getting directly from the colleges you're applying to. It can be need or merit-based, and those definitions are merit-based is uh, awarded to students who have demonstrated exceptional academic achievement, talent, or other special qualities, regardless of their financial need, and need-based is based on a family's financial need. So institutional aid, these scholarships can often have earlier deadlines. So when I recommend, this summer, Googling all of your colleges, UGA scholarships, any of the colleges you're applying to, clicking on their link and seeing what their process is. Some want you to apply by early action deadlines. Some will have alternate applications to apply for their merit-based aid. Some will automatically screen your application. So it's just best to kind of check out each school's website and see what that process is going to look like for your senior year and know what it's going to look like going into it. State aid. So in Georgia, we have the Hope and Zell Miller scholarships, which I will go over in just a second. Both are merit-based. Um, National scholarships. So these are big money, big name scholarships that are open to students across the country. They're usually very competitive, usually have like interview rounds. These typically open early fall and have fall deadlines. So start looking over the summer, figure out what you're going to be applying to in the fall, because it will come up quickly and those deadlines will come and go very fast. Local scholarships, however, open up generally second semester of student senior year, and those are limited to obviously students within a certain geographic location, which means smaller applicant pool and much higher chances. These are typically much lower amounts, but you can stack any scholarships. So our students have definitely the most success with local scholarships. And the key is to just apply, apply, apply. You're not going to hear back from every scholarship you apply to. You just have to keep putting it out there. Once you get a few essays written, you're just recycling them, tweaking them if you have to. But the most important thing is just to get as many out there as you can, because it's not as high yield typically as college applications. When you apply to college, you're going to hear back from every college you apply to. It's not necessarily the case for scholarships. So the Achieve It. So here's some tips for finding and winning scholarships. But I'm going to go over the Achieve Atlanta Scholarship, which is an amazing scholarship opportunity available to all of our students. It is up to $5,000 a year for 4 years for four-year institutions. Or if you're attending a two-year college or technical college, it's $1,500 a year for up to 2 years. So the eligibility, you must have been a senior at APS for the last 2 years. That can be a little bit flexible. You can do an appeal if you haven't been here the full 2 years, depending on your situation. You have to complete the FAFSA and qualify financially. And then you must also have a GPA of 2.75 or 75 on a 100-point scale to qualify for it. But it is not a competitive scholarship, meaning that if you do qualify, you will get it. So you're not competing with other students for it. You will, if you qualify, all of you get it. The Hope and Zell Miller scholarships. So these again are state aid programs, both merit-based. In order to qualify for the Hope Scholarship, you need a 3.0 Hope GPA or higher. Again, your Hope GPA is based only on your core classes. You can find your Hope GPA in Georgia Futures. And you also must have, I think, at least four rigorous courses, but generally most of our students meet that requirement, but your Georgia Futures page will tell you if you do or not. And then Zell Miller Scholarship. So the Hope Scholarship currently covers, I think, about 98% of tuition for in-state public colleges. Zell Miller covers 100%. The main difference is that Hope is subject to change each year. It's voted on each year, so it can lower. When I graduated, I think it was like 85%. But Zell Miller will always be 100% of tuition covered. And so in order to qualify for the Zell Miller Scholarship, you need at least a 3.7 Hope GPA, and at least a 1200 SAT in one sitting or a 25 ACT in one sitting. So they do not super score for this. And they do not round up Hope GPA. So if you graduate with a 2.99, you will not get the Hope Scholarship. So it's important to check before your senior year and figure out what you need to do to get in shape for that. If you don't qualify out of high school, you can still qualify after 1 year of college. So keep that in mind. And here is a
Miss
time.
Anderson,
Yes.
can we pause for a moment to
Yeah,
answer
absolutely. Sorry. Yeah.
questions?
Mhm.
So the first question is, if you wait until a regular decision to apply to schools that you do not want to use the first semester grades from senior year, are you able to only apply with your junior year GPA?
Okay.
I
If
would say no, but
you do not.
because regular decision, we have to send the transcript from first semester of senior year. If
Yeah.
regular decision is deadline falls on second semester.
Yeah. Wait, let me see. But you do not want to use your first semester grades from senior year. No, they will be seeing your mid-year
Yeah,
transcript. Yeah, that's a requirement. So yeah,
yeah.
I'll have to see that. Um,
The,
our first semester. Yeah. Yes. So there's a grace period for documents. Schools have document deadlines. And that's important to keep in mind with counselor recommendations as well. They do not have to be in by the same deadline that students' applications have to be in. But yes, typically schools allow up to like 2 weeks to a month to receive transcripts, test scores, stuff like that. Um, yeah, so any regular decision school is going to accept a mid-year transcript.
yeah, and I want to add to that when coming out the council's vote, we have our own view. We see all the deadlines for the applications and recommendation letters. So we are aware of the deadlines and do a pretty good job of adhering to those deadlines. So typically when I've been senior counsel in the past, I've received a number of emails and remind messages about the deadlines. Trust me, you do not have to send numerous emails or remind messages. We are well aware of the deadlines to come in because it shows us and it sends us reminders. The next question, when the student completes the text, is there a place to send responses to the teacher requested the letter from? Yeah, so the students will receive a copy of the rag sheet once they complete it, and they're able to print it or send it or email it directly to the teacher.
Yeah, so that's why you have to include your personal email when you are filling it out so that you get sent a copy of your responses that you can share with your teachers.
I heard that my connection was bad. My connection's
Okay, that's much better. Yes. Oh, yeah, that sounds better. Okay, I think that's all the questions for now. And okay, so this is senior year timeline. I'm not going to go through all of it, but yeah, the first couple months were we'll have the college fair, senior certification night. Mr. Jenright, do you want to say anything about that? That'll just be.
Um, I'm sorry, I don't know. I know they said my connection was bad, so I don't know what they heard. Um, what I said regarding Common App and the brag sheet, but hopefully you heard regarding the brag sheet. Students will receive a copy of the brag sheet that they can email the teachers and or print a copy and give them directly. As far as the Common Application, I was saying the counselor view. We have a counselor view that shows all the deadlines, so we will be aware of the deadline for the college application as well as the letter of recommendation. Our deadline is not the same, but we do get reminders to submit the documents. So in the past, I typically get a number of emails and remind messages. So that's really not necessary to send multiple reminders. Of course, you can send us a nudge or what have you, because we do get busy throughout the year, but Common App does a great job of reminding us when the deadlines are approaching for the documents. Um, the brag sheet will be updated this evening. I just need to add another question, and as soon as Miss Anderson sends out the presentation, there's a link for the brag sheet.
Mhm.
And we post it to the nahscounseling.com website as well.
Yeah.
So you asked if I had also for August when we return, I just want to quickly say, of course, the beginning, the ending, the entire school year is always busy, but the start of the school year, we are mainly focusing on new student enrollment. We have in the past quite a few seniors that enrolled during their senior year at school, and that can take uh, that can take a while. Okay. We as far as the new students. So we will get around to getting in the classrooms as soon as possible. As far as introducing, since we have Mr. Robinson will be sharing a caseload with me, introducing ourselves to the students, and going over this information with the students again. And then later in the month, we do a department transcript audit of all senior transcripts, make sure that they have everything they need to satisfy graduation requirements, like we're not missing anything. So we take a full week towards the end of August to do that. So we'll be shutting down. And then that prepares us for senior certification night, which takes place in September. And the senior certification night is an important night because we do give the students contracts with the courses that they need to satisfy. The outstanding courses remain to satisfy graduation requirements, and that does include community service. Community service, I've discussed this at the parent night earlier, but it's 75 hours. You submit it through the community service submission portal through our website. I will be working, this summer during my time off. I think it's needed to make sure I go through the service portal to get as many hours entered as possible. But we do have that portal that we refer to see if students have completed the hours, regardless if it's been entered into TierSphere. Um, and waivers are not submitted for students for community service if they don't complete them. They just have to do the hours, especially if they've been at the school for all 4 years. There are some exceptions for students that just enroll, like this semester of junior year and next students who enroll during senior year. But students who've been there for all 4 years, the expectation is that you complete your 75 hours. I think that's all that I have to share for now, Ms. Anderson.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, so I don't want to read off every bullet point from this, but generally this is kind of beginning of the year, figuring out what schools you're applying to, getting your essay completed, searching for scholarships. Then here we have the early action, early decision timeline. This is when you'd be hearing your decisions back from those. But if you're applying regular decision anywhere, this is when you're going to be submitting all of those applications. And then February through April, there are still plenty of schools that have open deadlines, Georgia State, Kennesaw, lots of schools still are open till about April 1st or even later. Um, so we still certainly have students applying up until then. Also, financial aid application opens October 1st. That's huge. FAFSA is free application for federal student aid. It is first come, first serve. So the earlier you complete it, the more aid you might be eligible for. We will have plenty of events next year on kind of paying for college, how to just over financial aid, scholarships, stuff like that. But yeah, and so through this timeline, you're also comparing your admissions offers, your financial aid awards, stuff like that. And then May 1st is National Decision Day, when students are supposed to announce their college decision. Some students are a little bit later than that. That's perfectly fine. Our decision day is usually a week or so later, which is our biggest event of the year. And yeah, then all that's left is just completing those final tasks for enrolling in college. Um, yeah.
Um,
Uh-huh. Good.
I do want to say I did post the SAT weekend fall dates in the chat. I'll repost them just in case you want to take pictures of those dates since we don't have them as part of the presentation. That's just FYI. And then Ms. Anderson, I know you're almost towards the end. I do want to quickly review the SAT score.
Oh, yeah. Sorry.
Yeah.
My bad.
Oh no, you could go ahead and finish and I'll do that.
Oh, okay. Um, okay, yeah, this is my last slide. And this is my summer before senior year checklist. It's also linked here with a ton of links and everything you could need. There's guides, there's everything linked in here. So it's a much more detailed version of this exact checklist. But generally, I recommend creating a professional email so that it's easy to keep up with all things scholarships, college applications, financial aid. Please do not use the email you've been using since elementary school. It's not going to go well. Building a balanced college list, registering, prepping for upcoming exams, checking your Hope GPA on Georgia Futures, completing your brag sheet, consider who you want to ask for recommendations if you haven't already, create your Common App account, get organized, start on your essay/personal statement, explore potential major or career paths, researching for scholarships, staying involved and keeping your GPA up, of course, always, and then going on college tours in person or virtual is definitely something I recommend doing this summer if you have the time or in the means. But I think that is pretty much it for me.
Okay. So I'm sorry, I'll chime in. I'll be quick.
Mhm.
So can I share I want to share my
Yeah.
screen. Thank you for being patient with us. Running kind of overtime. See here. Okay, so this is just, and I'll make sure Ms. Anderson can send this out as well, but this is just a quick guide for the understanding the SAT scores since students took the SAT, I think in April. The scores have been or should be available now in their College Board accounts. So please have them check their College Board account to see if they have received the SAT score report. But just quickly, it just talks about what the SAT is, as many of us know, and tells you about the score range. And just the quick breakdown for each section, the evidence-based reading and writing section, math, and then, the total. And we always get a question about what's a good SAT score. So this is just an example of an average total score here, anywhere between 1050 to 1100. A strong score is 1200 to 1350. And for competitive colleges, anywhere between 1400 to 1600. Ms. Anderson, could you keep your eye on the chat? I think I see some things.
Yeah.
Okay, let me know if I need to stop and address something. So as far as the percentiles, this just shows students how they fare compared to other test takers on that day. So example here, 75th percentile, meaning they scored better than 75% of the students who tested on that day. Sub scores for the evidence reading writing, if they scored a 400, 480, it says that they meet the benchmarks for being college ready, meaning they likely will earn a C or better in their college level class. For math, it's 530, the college benchmark. Same thing, meaning they are likely to earn a C or better in their college level class, during their first year in college. On their score report, there will be cross test scores. And what this is just give insight to a student, their abilities in science and social studies. The range is from like 10 to 40. And those are just analysis that are embedded in the questions, select questions that are asked throughout the sections. As far as super scoring, we get this question a lot. And this is just students just having their best math score of all times they've taken the SAT. Same thing, their best evidence-based reading and writing score is called super scoring. It's not just one sitting, but how many different test dates they test. Whatever the best score is, colleges will super score. I think, Ms. Anderson, you've already covered this here information. So basically, now that they have their score report, now they should decide if they want to retake the SAT. Some students realize, hey, the SAT just isn't for me, so they just focus on the ACT and vice versa. Just make sure that they use the score report. If they're going to prepare for the SAT, really use it and analyze it to prepare for the next time they sit to take the SAT. I know some students take the SAT multiple times because of the super scoring, but if you don't have to take it multiple times, just one more time, then it's best to do that, in my opinion, or just using your score report to prepare for the next test date that you would like to test. Now, in the fall, for the SAT dates, I do want to encourage students who are athletes, if you are employed, choosing your test date carefully. If you have a game like on Friday night, if, for example, you're a football player and you have a game Friday night, then I would probably stay away, if possible, from a test that's the next day. So just keeping that in mind when scheduling your test dates, and that's for the ACT as well. But this is just a brief slideshow that I want to share regarding the SAT score report, and we'll include this in the PowerPoint. The other information that I would like to share, we know the Atlanta Virtual Academy. Can you see this screen, Ms. Anderson?
It's still on your slides. Is that right?
Okay, let me stop sharing, go back to it. So for Atlanta Virtual Academy, for students that have been approved to take courses during the summer, they had to complete the registration form. It's still open. We will start enrolling students in the courses soon. They can't start until June 2nd, but we will review each student and who's registered for their courses to make sure that they're taking the correct course or sign up for the correct course, and we'll register them and they receive an email directly from Atlanta Virtual Academy once the course has been activated. The email will go to the student and to the parent. Another thing, can you see the Posse here, Ms. Anderson? Okay, so some students received an email about Posse. Posse is it's a foundation that has a scholarship where it pays full tuition for students who become a Posse, not finalist, but becomes a Posse scholar. And there's a series of interviews that the students have to go through. It's highly competitive, and they partner with 6 institutions. I know Boston University, Vanderbilt University, College of Worcester, Brandeis University, Bard College, and Texas A&M. Yeah, so those are the schools that they partner with. So students did receive an email based on a GPA range. For disclosure, there really isn't a GPA quote unquote criteria for the scholarship, but given that I know that it's a highly competitive scholarship, the students have to put them, selves in the best light. However, if a student is interested in being nominated, then they didn't receive the email, they just simply come to me and or email me, and I'll make sure that I get this information to them. Nominations are open throughout the summer. We have 40 slots. Right now, students who sign up for those slots will be nominated because we only have like, I think, 10 students that have submitted. So every student isn't going to be interested in doing it, but I just want to give that to information as FYI. And the brag sheet I've already covered. And one last thing, I've sent a survey on Remind for students to complete. This just helps us prepare for senior year. It's a quick survey, so please ask your student if they've already completed this survey. It takes maybe like a minute or less. Just ask what are your top 3 post-high school educational career interests? And they don't have to choose 3, at least up to 3. And talks about what is one specific job or career field they're interested in. They don't have to answer that question, but we just have it there in case they have an idea now. And what is one question you have about life after high school? This just helps us prepare for the senior year and know how to have conversations when students come to talk about post-secondary options during their senior year. And then there's a separate survey that was sent yesterday on Remind from our college advisor, Ms. Jeffries, where they are going to put students into every rising senior, they need their information to put into Grace. Ms. Anderson could probably talk more about that, but they use that to meet with students throughout their senior year, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, so all seniors are required to meet with their assigned college advisor at least once a semester. They're welcome to meet with them as many times as they would like, but they have to at least once a semester. So they will come around to classrooms and pull them one by one from their either TOK or lit classes if the student doesn't make their own appointment. But yeah, so they just want to check in. It's not students don't necessarily have to prepare for those meetings unless they want to, but it's just to see where the student's at and whether we can provide any support. Yeah.
So at this time, I guess I'm forgetting something very
And there's
important.
a few questions in the chat also.
I was asked to share by this senior sponsor. She sent me a message. She would like for parents and students to join I'm sorry, I don't have my glasses on there. The class of 2026 Remind this is for senior year graduation information. I'm going to put it in the chat, but it's NATL 2026. So I guess N for North, ATL for Atlanta 2026. That's the Remind code. I will put it in the chat and I'll send it out on Remind as well. And another thing that she wanted me to share, and Ms. Robinson is the senior sponsor, Ms. Jenna Robinson. She want me to share that students should check the spelling of their name in Infinite Campus, and if it needs to be corrected, please provide documentation to the registrar before February. Now, we will go over this again during senior certification night in September, but this is just FYI in case you want to just go ahead, get ahead of this. But again, the code is, Ms. Anderson, I don't know if you could put this in the chat. The class of 2026 graduation Remind code is NATL 2026. And I'll send it on Remind. But that's all that I have. And I know you said we have some questions in the chat.
Yeah. So first one is, does it hurt you to take the SAT more times to get a certain score? Answer is generally no. There are a few schools, I think Georgetown is the only one I can think of that requires you to send like all your test scores. So if a school does require that, it could potentially hurt you, but generally colleges allow you to send, or even if you do send all your scores, they are only going to review the super score. They're not going to consider the lower scores. So generally, no, it does not hurt you. For students doing AVA over the summer, should they have received any emails at this point confirming where they are in the process, or will they only hear after June 2nd?
They will hear as soon as the councils get around to enrolling the students in the course. They will receive an email when the course is activated. It will come directly from Atlanta Virtual Academy and sent to the parent and student. The courses start June 2nd, so students' courses will be activated. Well, we will request the course before June 2nd, and the AVA counselors will activate the course, I believe, on June 2nd. And if students need to use their Chromebook during the summer and they currently have it now, they should keep it. I talked with our tech specialist today for students who need to use their Chromebook during the summer to take a class virtually. They should keep their Chromebook, do not turn it in. Other students who are not taking classes online this summer should turn their Chromebooks in on the 3rd floor to Miss McCall in her office is like in the atrium, near the atrium area.
Where can I access the posse nomination form?
If you were invited to the policy information session, I emailed it to all students. And if I think I may have put it in Remind, but if not, then you can send me an email and I can send it to you. And okay, I see you've already answered. Your posse is not need-based.
Yeah. And then you can just, if you Google Posse Atlanta, the schools will come up, but it's Texas A&M, Bard, Brandeis, Boston University, College of Wooster, Vanderbilt. Am I missing anything?
George Washington.
Yeah,
George
George.
Washington. Thank you. Thank you, Shalini. Yeah, George Washington University.
I
Great.
think Agnes got as well.
No, that Agnes is not a posse.
There- Okay.
It might have been in the past. They changed the
They
schools
change them.
every few years. So, all right. Any other questions? You can hang around for a minute. You can come off mute or put it in the chat. And I will be sharing all of like the slides and the recording and the guide and everything tomorrow morning. Another question about the posse nomination form was it?
Yeah, just have the students email me directly or just send a remind message to me and I can provide them with the link.
Other questions? All right.
All right.
That is
But Ms. Anderson, I'll text you when I update, as soon as I finish updating the form, the breaks.
perfect. Yeah, I'll probably just share everything in the morning. So, all right. Well, thank you all for coming. And if you have any questions later on, feel free to email or send a remind message or pop in the CCC. We are always happy to help.
Thank you.